Welcome back, everybody. It is Monday, the 27th of February, 2023, making this episode 58. And we're getting closer to that 60 mark. And tomorrow's the last day of the second month of the year. So, round of applause to me. This has been a tough gig, a tough slog, but it's also been good. I've had to reprioritize and restructure a bunch of shit in my life recently, and this has allowed everything to slow down in a way. This podcast is allowing me to breathe, take time slow, because I'm only able to 58 days, right? We're only 58 days into the year. So if I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, this, and this need to be done, blah, blah, blah. Bro, chill. It's been 60 days. Calm the F down, am I right? No, but welcome back, and thank you for tuning back in, or tuning in for the first time if you're the first time here. I have been doing this project every day for 58 days, and just been vibing out. I just sit and I talk to this microphone for minimum of 10 minutes, maximum of 20 minutes, and I just mostly just chat absolute shit. Just sit here just talking absolute smack. Some days are boring. I think yesterday might have been a boring episode. So thank you for listening if you did. And I'm sorry as well. And then some days are a bit more interesting. Like today I actually have a topic that I want to talk about. And that topic is toxic masculinity. Now, I don't think too much about this, right? Partly because I think that there are people out there a lot smarter than me that have a lot better opinions than I do. And so I just don't like to muddy the waters. I don't read too much about it. I also think that if I focus too much on negative things, then negative things are all I see. And so I try and focus on positive things. And I like to think that there's more good than there is bad in the world, even though there's probably a pretty even mix. But all we see is bad, So just the term toxic masculinity is not good, obviously. And that doesn't mean there's also not toxic femininity, but we're not talking about that today. And I don't want to talk necessarily about, men who are toxic or of specific things or specific instances or examples, but I want to talk about what leads to, or what has led to, for me, the rejection of toxic masculinity from my life, as in I won't spend time around people who I perceive to be toxic through masculinity, and then I also want to talk about how easy it is to become that if you're not paying attention to it. And so I was talking with a friend yesterday, and we were talking about, we were both raised by single mums. He was raised by a single mum in commission housing, didn't really have a father figure, and so his friends in school were his introduction to masculinity. They were his role models for a mature adult. Now, obviously, your friends in school have no fucking clue, just like you don't. But most of them have dads, you know what I mean? And they have a mentor, they have someone around. Now, that mentor doesn't necessarily need to be good, but having somebody is generally, I want to say arguably generally better than having nobody, right? Anyway, I was also raised by a single mom, and I think I spoke about this either yesterday or the day before on this podcast, where I hung out with mostly girls, and I was talking with him about that. I didn't really have many male friends growing up, and I mean, I did. I was able to hang out with guys, and it wasn't like guys thought I was a fucking loser or anything, but I just preferred hanging out with girls because they were less complicated. There was no competition. There was no bullshit, right? And so we got on the discussion, and we were talking back and forth, and he said that from his perspective and from his experiences, being a man is a competition with other men, right? you're in competition. And what are we in competition for? Well, I mean, it's easy to say attention and popularity and eyes being on you. But we're all in competition for a bit of everything, right? Think about your physical fitness is we're competitive just by nature, and I mean women are too. But for men, it can turn toxic because being an adult male, especially a single adult male, let's say on like a night out in the clubs, it's a proving ground. That's a place where you go and you're looking to pick up chicks, or you're looking to, and you're hanging out with all your boys, and if you're with a group of 6 boys and any of them have any doubt who you are, or they think that you're a bit of a loser, a bit of a soft cock, whatever it is, right? You're out there to prove that you're not that. And for them, the proof might be getting in a fight. For them, the proof might be picking up a chick. It doesn't matter what it is, but that's a proving ground, right? And you're in competition with yourself, with other people. And so we were talking about that, and I thought it was interesting. It's like, if you think back to like very basic sort of like primal, like what is the actual competition, right? Passing on your genetics. So you want to pass on your genetics so that you have kids and your next generation comes out, and it might not be on a night out at a club, right? But that's the ultimate goal, is to have kids and pass on your genetics, right? And find the perfect mate to do that with. And so if you're out on a night out and someone's threatening that, it can turn into toxic masculinity just based on that. And the people you surround yourself with, if they're not keeping themselves in check, if you're not keeping others in check, you're like your people close to you in check, it can turn into toxic masculinity. And then he said something that I've actually written down because I thought it was so good. And he said, it's tough being a guy. Not a lot of people give it enough credit. See, we've always got shields up, but we've always got swords up too. And I was like, man, that's such a good way of putting it, right? So we're always ready to protect and defend ourselves, but we've also always got to be ready to be on the attack. And that can be exhausting, especially if you're, a mid-20 something single male. Like I'm fortunate. I'm married. I found a partner. I found. I guess abolished the idea of going out and partying and doing that stuff. I said that nothing good comes after midnight out at clubbing. Like the most of the people that are out clubbing after midnight are either on drugs or lonely, or trying to prove something. You know what I mean? I think they're king dick and they're just going to start fights and stuff. So, and being a big dude myself, I'd rather not put myself in a scenario where I accidentally look at someone the wrong way, or if my night's been ruined and I'm pissed off and I look at someone the wrong way and then they're like, what? And, I'm not the type of guy to keep myself quiet. But it's also the same thing. It's like a proving ground. I don't want to fight anybody, but I also don't want anyone to think that I'm able to be fucked with. And so that you've got that shield up and that sword up at the same time. So I just thought it was, really interesting. And I think that there's a lot more to toxic masculinity than the normal narrative, because I think that underneath toxic men and underneath that layer of toxic masculinity is a bunch of boys who never learned how to really deal with their emotions and process and regulate their feelings and explain themselves. And I think they started hanging out with other boys who also couldn't do the same thing. And so they started to create this way of living that really doesn't satisfy them in any way, doesn't make them happy in any way. But, they're the biggest or the toughest or the blah, 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 so. Oh, sorry, that was loud. Sorry if you got headphones on, you listen to this loudly. I have another sonnet that I've written. I keep writing these bloody sonnets. I've fallen in love with the I guess the process of using my brain to think of how to rhyme things and do 10 syllables and whatever. And I wrote this one yesterday from a conversation I had with my mum a long time ago, when my mum was going through some stuff, and she was sort of on edge and a bit rocky with how she was feeling about things, midlife crisis type beat, and she said, I said to her, you're supposed to be, that big willow tree that's providing shade. You've got your roots deep in the ground, so that, you can weather any storm and things don't come past. And right now you're proving that you aren't that. So do whatever you can to get back to that in your head. And that helped her a lot. But I remember I wanted to write a sonnet yesterday with my mum in mind, so I wrote this. And then I think I'll end it there. The old tree stands tall, providing good shade, roots deep underground and centuries old. To think it was planted, sapling and spade, the witness to all great stories untold. The tree just exists, of things unconcerned. Underneath children playing will be found. But age and time gone cannot be discerned. Still and silent as shelter she is bound. If the tree should forget, she is just that. Sharp axe to be felled is her certain fate. So stay constant, or fear turning to slat, knowing our time ends on only one date. This tree provides shade and centuries old. It knows a lifetime of stories untold. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and have a blessed day. Be well, friends.